the earliest possible meeting in order to do
Yeah,
this.
there's a strict timeline, so I went and reviewed that over with Corp Council because they have 30 days, the 3 agencies that I just named have 30 days to comment from when they filed.
Right, so that's why
Which-
we have to.
Yeah, so I think that was early June that they filed. And then after that, there's 90 days from filing for the decision to be made. Plus, we're getting in a public meeting, getting in a public meeting about it too. So, that's the timeline.
All right. Is it okay with giving the planning board more work to do?
And 137 is just to, do the public hearing, which we set for August, do you have it on here?
12,
August 12th?
6:30 PM.
Yeah, this is just setting the public hearing for this.
All right? So don't be at the beach that day.
Okay, back to,
One more Los Angeles.
yeah, number 138, adopting a bond ordinance for a sum of $130,000 for reconnaissance design, engineering, permit, and construction of the Hasbrook CSO watershed. So the impact on this is $130,000 to the city. Phase one of the sewer separation in the Hasbrook CSO watershed.
All right, questions?
139 is the bond ordinance. Back to you, Andrew.
So 140, we actually are going to table this until August because we did not get all the comments from the involved agencies. So we talked about that in laws and rules, saying if we didn't get them, we'd have to, by law, wait. So we were hoping we would get them all in, but we did not.
Do we need to make an official designation tomorrow evening about that?
Do I have to table it?
Just set it back.
Okay.
But we don't need to vote, we already said what the procedures we follow, so we don't need to vote to send it back or something?
You should still go through the process.
Okay, fine,
Okay, so I'll make a motion to send it back.
thank you.
And 141 is the same issue, so
Okay.
the first one was just to declare us lead agency, and the second one is to declare NACDEP.
This is going back also?
Yeah, this one will have to, yeah. We were hopeful that we would have all the information, but.
Who are we waiting for?
Christian, do you
I
have
don't know which agencies they are, but our engineer at GPI has been tracking all of the responses, and she said that 2 agencies haven't responded yet, and that they are typically the ones that don't respond, and then it just reverts to the 30-day deadline, so.
Except they don't respond in 30 days, it's just a,
It's just
They're okay.
automatically then they're accepting that we would be the lead agency, so we probably just have to wait 30 days.
Is that New York State Department of Slackers? Okay. So 142 is from Community Development. Tony's not here, can anybody speak to this?
We just adopted the 5-year consolidated plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we talked about. Yeah, we just approved it.
Were there any major concerns with it, or?
Actually, there wasn't there, no.
Okay. Great, so everybody's good with that one
it
then?
went through a pretty hefty public
Mhm.
meeting session,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of that was taken into consideration, so.
All right,
Okay, following next is a whole large stack consolidated funding applications to New York State that we dealt with in the Special Finance Committee the other night with Steve and Rennie and Ruth Ann and Kristen. One thing a lot of these have in common is, although some of them are different, but basically we're requesting authorization to apply for grants. And in many cases, we don't know what the grant will be, so you can't say yet what the match requirements will be. So you'll see a lot of our match requirements to be determined, because it depends upon what the grant is. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. We are still working on budgets, so the resolutions are, except for in a few cases, they're generally for the maximum amount that we can apply for. The authorization is to apply for the maximum amount, but we may apply for less, and then we may get less. In the past, some grantors we've applied for 500,000, they've given us 300,000. And then, once we get the grant, then we'll have to determine where the match comes from, and several of those have different matching requirements. Sometimes you can use staff time, sometimes you have to bond because it's for construction. Sometimes we have another grant that will match the other grant, so then we don't have to bond. So there's lots of things that are uncertain, and we won't know any of them, and we may not even get the grant. So there's a lot of uncertainty.
Before we go, Jim, can I ask you a question for tomorrow
Sure.
night? Can we vote on all of these as a package tomorrow night, or do we have to vote on each one individually?
I would say you could vote on a package,
Mhm.
as long as nobody had any objections, any of the aldermen. I mean, I would
Okay.
ask them that.
So we should probably go through each one so everybody's clear on what's here
Tonight, yeah.
tonight. And then tomorrow night, if nobody has any concerns or questions, then we'll just vote on them.
Every one of these, I think, is authorizing the mayor to submit an application.
So it doesn't bind us to anything, doesn't mean we have to do anything.
Every single one of them is to submit
Just
an
let
application.
Tony and Bill know.
Bill sent us questions, so
Yeah.
we could ask them now, so we should be fine with it if he gets his questions answered, I guess.
Who's that?
Who? Bill.
Bill Carey.
You had the questions?
Yep. Oh, you want me to start with this question? I thought you were gonna go through the order of them. So it's
Well-
one,
Oh, go ahead.
do you wanna go in the order of these? And I'll just
I
ask-
think when the question,
Yeah.
let's wait till they come
Yeah,
up here
that's
and
what I
ask the
was gonna
question. Okay. All right, so resolution 143.
Okay, 143, submit an application to New York State Department of State for total project, this is for the, this is the local waterfront revitalization program down on Rondo. 2,352,941. The estimated match requirement will be 15%, which would be 350, almost 353,000. But we don't know what that will be until we know what the grant is.
325, says on here.
Well, it says 352,941.
I got 325 now.
This is where we got a new sheet for that one, 144.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, no, that's,
That's
I'm sorry, that's
143.
144.
Yeah,
Sorry, I went
143.
ahead.
The amounts on
Relax there, will ya?
it should correspond to this document that I shared with you all, as the CFA sees its summaries. So the amounts on the resolution should correspond, so if there's any
All right,
discrepancies.
so that needs to get changed then. 'Cause
It's
on the,
different from here.
on the committee report, it says 352, and that's what Doug's using. But on the resolution, it says 325.
Where are you seeing the 325?
Up here in the top one.
It's both in the whereas and it's in the,
Oh.
Whereas this application
Alright.
should be granted over 15%, 325. But then down on the,
let's
But
see
then
what
in
we're
the
talking
first
about.
whereas it says
Yeah,
352.
so
yeah, so.
15%.
Right.
And on a committee report, it's 352.
Yes, I'm confident that it's 352,941, so there must be a
A
typo.
typo?
Somebody just switched the 2 and the 5 by
So it
accident.
should be the three, right, it should be three
So Dee, can you
fifty-two.
correct that?
No, that's,
It's
I
a-
can't, the court counsel. I will make sure it gets
Okay, so
corrected.
which one is this, 143, what are you doing?
143, the first whereas is correct, but the third whereas,
It should be
Needs to
three
be
fifty-two,
three-
941.
352?
As Randy says, the 2 and the 5 are just transposed.
Yeah, it's a typo, it's not
Private
a
land we're stabilizing?
corporation.
Is that private land?
While we're at it
stabilizing
too, there's
or
an extra
public land
comma in that
stabilizing
first
or
number in
both?
the first
It's a
whereas.
combination of two.
And why are we?
There's a couple of typos that I noticed today, so anything
Just
like that.
stabilizing.
Okay, we move on? It's
Move
okay?
on,
To hold back.
Move on.
move on.
Number 144, submit an application,
Amenable to.
New York State Department of DEC for a water quality improvement program in the amount of $1,611,200 for Phase 2 Hasbrook CSO sewer separation project.
I feel.
Again,
So vote yes.
total project cost,
Is it most of his property or all of his property?
I'm not sure.
This might be a little bit
yeah,
confusing
now,
because.
there's another one. The whereas says $2,289,000.
The lion's share
The committee report says total project cost is,
Of ours? Of ours.
I've got $2,289,000 crossed out and changed to $2,014,000. Why is that?
If you look on the
committee
COA
report on
season
that.
summary, there's the
This one
total
is-
project
you can
cost
look at
for the
that.
grant amount will be $2,014,000, I believe. And then there, we have to also add another $275,000 for design.
For what?
For design,
Oh,
which
he
is not
is giving
fundable
that
by
part,
this
right.
grant source. They don't
Change it.
fund,
That's
it's
all
an
right
ineligible
there
project
And
cost.
change the
will
form.
be.
But it's a cost that we will have to incur to make the whole project happen, because we can't construct something that's not been.
So the $2,014,000 plus $275 gives us $2,289,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. That's
can I just ask a general question on these, or with a follow-up?
Yeah.
So if we are applying for these grants and we get them, does that mean we have to accept them?
We're not obligated.
Okay, alright, then my follow-up isn't necessary.
No, we'll deal with them one by one. If they come in,
Alright.
then they'll come before us and say, well, we need such and such a match, then we decide.
Alright, so this
maybe-
isn't tying us down to all of
No.
this money. Alright, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The shoreline stabilization,
What number?
143.
The
I'm
one
sorry.
before this.
Did you go back? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you go back? Is that mostly city shoreline? Or is that private shoreline we're stabilizing? Is it owned by a private entity, or is it the city's shoreline that we're stabilizing for $2 million?
That's a good question. So, this project, the design is currently funded by the Department of State. And so we're currently designing this. The design project limits are essentially from the 9W Bridge to the end of the Cornell Building. So the properties that are involved are the Hudson River Maritime Museum, the Old Savannah property, and the Cornell Building, which is owned by Rob Iannucci. The Department of State requires that we get easements on those properties, like permanent easements for public access for in perpetuity for the, well, maybe not in perpetuity, I think so. Mostly DOS is looking for, they're gonna spend any state dollars on it, they want to ensure that public access will always be present for where they've spent their dollars. So it's, the answer to the question is that we would have an easement on the properties where we would be conducting the construction.
Does skip over the steel house or no?
So this particular part that we're applying for now is only in front of the Hudson River Maritime Museum and the ferry slip, which if you're down at on the waterfront at the the boat building school.
Yeah,
And you look to the left, there's kind of an area that's kind of like grassy and there's no bulkhead right there. So this is only for that part, which is owned, currently adjacent to the old Savannah property and the Hudson River Maritime Museum property. So it's basically half of the design.
I thought it went to the Cornell building, no, that's not.
The design goes all the way, but it's expensive.
Oh, so this is
So we're
just-
only applying for, we're doing the design all the way to the end of the Cornell building, but we're doing the construction in phases because it's expensive.
How does the design work around the building that he just spoke about?
We haven't finished that part. We're still working on that, on the design, either on the water side or the street side of the old Savannah. And then the Cornell building would have some sort of design on the water side, but we haven't figured that all out yet. Because there's lots of complicated things that I can go into it.
Doesn't it have to be waterfront for the, it doesn't, it can go around the buildings?
It can go around,
Promenade
the promenade can, shoreline stabilization obviously would have to be on the water side, but we haven't determined.
What would the easement look like for that building? Maybe would easement be the porch on the back of that building?
I'm not sure what the easement would look like on that. I was actually just researching past easements on that today, but I don't know the answers to those questions yet. We haven't finalized the design for those sections, and so that's why we're only focused on applying for this first section, because we have a project advisory committee meeting today with all of the members, and we did come to some final agreements for the section in front of the museum and the ferry slip. So that's where we're at, but we're still debating about the other end.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
I have a question on 144.
Yep.
So just so the 275 is in addition to the 402 match. That's up, right?
Yeah, it would not be matched to the grant, that would just be additional cost to make the project happen. We could potentially look for other design funds, other grants, although it seems that a lot of our state agencies are not, they're funding planning and construction, but not design, which is sort of in the middle between the planning and construction.
Right. How do you plan without design?
I don't know why they're not funding design in general for these types of projects. I suspect it's because they want to see local communities have some skin in the game.
okay, that brings us to 145, for work at Academy Green Park. Authorizing the mayor to apply for a grant from Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, in the amount of $600,000. Total project cost is $800,000, so with a match requirement, that would be a match requirement of $200,000, but yet to be determined when we know what the grant is.
I got a question on this, just kind of for my own information I get. Now, the Academy Green, I mean, does the city own any of that property, or is that owned by a different entity, or?
My understanding is that we own the park property, but I'm sorry, Ruth Ann has been managing this one, so, my understanding is that we own it, but there's a organization that oversees what happens in that area. I don't know what they're called. Maybe Dee, do you know what they're called? Academy Green?
Yeah, I don't know if it's Academy Green Trustees or something. That's what they are, and so they're basically the body that oversees what happens there.
They've laid down
Anything like
restrictions, we have
this.
to abide by their restrictions. Like
If they said
can't be
nobody,
a parking
if nobody
lot.
allowed, then what?
Well, it's already in writing. I don't think they
I
can
don't know.
change it at this
I don't,
point.
I've
I
never
mean, I
seen
think
the
they're pretty,
agreement. I don't
pretty
have
basic. You
it.
can't make a parking lot out of it, I think is one of them.
There would be no clause in there where you're not able to use
I
it or
have-
whatever, I mean, you know.
I don't
There are
know. We'd have to
specific
look at the.
restrictions in the, I don't know if it was, I'm not sure exactly what the document was titled, but if it was used for anything other than park purposes, it would revert back to them.
Okay, but the park purposes is definitely there and there would be no problem.
The use is restricted.
Okay. But I mean, to go see the statue would be allowed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Same, we have that down at Cornell Park too. There's certain things we can and cannot do down there.
Okay?
Can you just speak to what exactly is gonna go on there?
Hmm?
Says
Electric,
water,
Electric.
landscape.
landscaping, pretty much a big investment
Okay.
that we gotta pay 200,000 to also.
This was outlined in the DRI strategic plan. The planning consultants did a large investment plan for the entire uptown area. And they worked with the organization and the city and determined, you know, what needs would be, what needs there are for improving that park. And that's, you know, essentially this project summary that's in here, this is what she can use.
Thank you.
So this is gonna become even more important when you put the traffic circle in, because we're gonna be changing where the buses stop. You wanna make it easily accessible to the folks in the Governor Clinton. There's all kind of things like that to try to make it more accessible so more people feel comfortable going there and using the park.
Thank you.
That's the basic idea.
Sounds like
Because I think originally when they were doing bus stops, there was some discussion with the organization about where it would go in that park,
Mhm.
so.
Sounds like a great idea. Thanks.
Okay, that was up to 146. Again, Mayor submitted an application to the DE's Environmental Facilities Green Initiative Program for the amount of $2 million for design and construction around D Stadium. This is the work outside the physical stadium and the parking lot, drainage and that type of thing, but it's got nothing to do with the playing fields, right?
Yeah, this is for areas where the parking, it's for areas where traffic circulates essentially. So the parking areas, the areas around the stadium.
And one of the aspects too is to look at another either entrance or exit to ease the flow of traffic in the park.
Out
in the
on
parking
Hurley
lots.
Avenue.
Yeah, potential going out to Hurley Avenue, something like that. But lots of changes and really significant and positive changes.
But looking to go for a grant of $2 million, the match would be 10%, so the city's match, to be determined, of course, on the grant, but it could be $222,222.
All right, questions, concerns? 147?
This one was, again, the amount of $1 million to the Speed Stadium Green Infrastructure Site Improvement Plan. Help me
This
out
is
on this one.
essentially
What's the
the
difference between this and the previous one? I forgot.
One's the
50%
CSC
match, I can tell you that. $1 million.
One's the CSC and one's the W. Right?
So
Or no, that's the
if you look
full-
again at this one, this kind of has the numbers of all, there's 3 resolutions that are for the same project from 3 different grant sources.
Ah,
So if you look at this sheet here, page 2, the total project cost for this entire project is $5,250,000. And we're essentially seeking $4 million in grant funding, and the match would be
Okay,
$1,250,000.
thank you, I remember.
One of the grants matches another one of the grants.
148 matches, is that the,
I don't have the resolution numbers. The DEC Climate Smart Communities grant can match the EFC GIGP grant.
So one grant can provide the match for another grant.
Was John Toohey at this meeting?
No,
Yeah, who was that, the Bishop Finance? Oh, no, it was
he wasn't at our meeting.
no.
I just like to hear what he has to say about the money.
well, again, these aren't, we're not fixed on actually going through with these.
I know that.
Okay.
And the other thing is, so
I'm
something
just
like
saying,
this.
if we do, what's the impact? You know, that's what I'd like to hear
Yeah.
You're over 2 million now, so.
from John.
I can tell you that we're in really good shape in terms of our borrowing. So, you know, even if we got all of these, I think we would be in fine shape. But the thing with this one, for example, that $5 million is a really large number. But doing all the components is not required, there's no requirement to do all of the components. So if we get some of the money, we can do some of the components, which will improve those areas outside the stadium. But by no means do we, you know, it's not all or nothing, in other words. Does that make sense?
Just for the sake of discussion, if we had to match 2 million, which this is over 2 million, would that be immediately? Or would that be spread over time, or, you know, how does that work? Anybody know that answer?
Well, so if we got all 3 of these grants,
Well, on those other ones earlier, or whatever.
oh, the other, you mean as a whole? We got all of these grants?
Yeah,
the
I
same
know how
time?
good you are, I'm thinking we'll get them all, so.
Well, maybe not. It would depend on how quickly the projects advance and the different, requirements by the funders. So for example, the parks grants, they give us 5 years to
Okay,
do those.
5 years, oh.
So we could space.
Is that
we could
normal,
space it.
or average, or?
Most of the DOS and the parks grants give you 5 years.
Okay,
The EFC grant, I think they give us 3 years to do the project. So they all have sort of different timelines, and also once we get into it, you know, for example, one of them we may be able to design very quickly, and the others we may need to, it will take us some time to design. Is there maybe, you know, for example, a
there's
waterfront
no
project.
deadline on the grant, once you receive it, that you gotta be ready to spend it?
Once you receive the grant, you generally need to have the project complete within 5 years.
5 years, okay.
you could get an
So-
extension, can't you? For
Sometimes, yeah, you can get extensions. For example, our waterfront project that we talked about first, it took us a while to do that design because we had some unforeseen challenges. Whereas other projects, we're moving a little bit faster on the design, so.
So back to my original thing, if it was a $2 million match and you had 5 years, it would be like 400,000 a year, which at 1.5%, or 1% for 150,000.
That's actually a question for John too. I can't answer
Okay.
that because I don't understand how he does his borrowing. I think in certain cases he'll borrow all at once, and then in other cases he'll borrow as the grant is getting reimbursed. And so I don't know the answer to that question.
At what point in your grant decision-making is John brought into the picture?
Well, he was involved, we shared all of this information with him before we came to the finance committee earlier this month. And
So that's the point, after you've done all the work, then John gets to look at the grants?
no, we haven't done all the work. So this honestly, we
Just a
haven't
proposal.
written any of these grants
No, I
yet.
understand.
So, I mean, we don't want to write them until we have authorization to apply. It's a lot of work to write a grant. So, he's brought in at the point where we're discussing possible projects and possible funding amounts.
So like,
Which is now,
which is me right
last
now.
month, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
So we're authorizing for you to apply for these grants, and then should you get them, then it comes back to us for us to approve whether we're going to accept them or not.
Well, I believe that the resolutions say apply and execute all documents.
Oh,
So we don't come back to council to approve accepting the grant.
so we're doing more than authorizing you to apply, than to
Yeah.
just apply.
And execute documents. And when we get the grants, then we would announce that we got the grants. At that point, any members have an objection, then you could let that be known to the mayor, but,
That wasn't clear a minute ago.
But we do have to approve the matching funds.
you don't have, you do have to, exactly. So, once we execute documents, we, start a contract with the state, and then usually when we're executing those documents, we have to come back for a resolution that commits the match to the project.
And if we don't commit the match, then the project is dead, the grant is dead, correct?
Yeah, then we have to
So,
tell the state we're not accepting the grant.
right.
Okay, so those are the 3 grants associated with the exterior part of Beach Stadium, approach and egress and so forth. Okay, which brings us to 150, which is for the Kingston Point Rail Trail, Phase 2 project. Let's see, we're looking for a grant for $250,000. The match requirement would be 20% or $312,500. Again, just,
There's 1,000 missing in there.
Yeah.
312,000,
did I, what did I say?
you said 312 and $500.
You know what I meant. Okay?
The camera might not.
Total project cost $312,500.
Okay, 151, again, authorization for the mayor to apply, Department of State for the funds in the amount of $300,000 for the Midtown Brownfield Opportunity Area Designation Project. The match would be 10%, which would be $33,333, a total project cost of $333,000. 10% now.
All right. Are we clear on that one?
I'm sorry, can we go back to the Kingston Point Rail Trail? There should have been 2 resolutions for the Kingston
Which
Point Rail
one?
Trail.
Which one?
Kingston Point Rail
Kingston
Trail,
Point Rail Trail,
150.
Yeah.
was there not another resolution?
Was that to New York State Office of Parks?
Yes.
That's 149.
Did we talk about, I'm sorry, did we talk about 149?
I don't think we did.
Okay.
Total project cost $800,000.
Yeah, I thought we did. Well, okay. Resolution 149, Kingston Point Rail Trail Phase 2, total project cost $800,000. The match would be 25% of the total project cost. So we're looking, the grant request would be for $600,000, match of $200,000, total project cost of $800,000. Okay?
Can you just explain where phase 2 goes to?
Sure, this is for, the current phase ends at Garrigan Drive. If you're staying at the police station, you look across 9W, and you see there's a little trailhead right there. So it starts from there, and it goes down along the old railroad tracks to the trolley museum, and goes behind the trolley museum and continues along sort of the edge of the woods to where the current railroad tracks meet up with East Rand Street. So, and the trail would be adjacent to the existing trolley tracks. There would be no impact on the trolley museum, or no input, I'm sorry, there would be no impact on the trolley. The trolley would still be running on the tracks. We wouldn't be removing any tracks where the trolley is running. And we've been working with the trolley museum. We had Tim Moot from CPL is our design consultant on this. He came into the special finance meeting and showed some maps of the area. The Trolley Museum is really excited about working on this with us. I think another added part of the project is to preserve some 9/11 artifacts that they currently have at the Trolley Museum. There's what's sitting outside in the weather, some really interesting artifacts, and so we would be able to work that in as some sort of interpretive aspect of the trail project.
Thanks.
Does anybody know what force account funds are?
Where is that?
It's in the,
It's in every one of them.
yeah. Whereas cost of 200,000 provide in-kind and force account funds.
It's kind of boilerplate, the match provided by another grant, in-kind, force account funds, donations, and if necessary, bonding to be requested.
I was just wondering what force accounts were.
Force
I've
account
asked that
is,
question, but truthfully, I forget the answer.
When we have staff like DPW work on the project, or if DPW works.
Wouldn't that be like in-kind service though?
It would be, it's a little different than administrative staff in kind. It's, sorry, I lost for words, but
But that's what you think it is?
labor staff.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, 150, we've talked about. Now we're on,
We did one also.
we did 151, or 15. And we did 152.
Well, it's the same issue, but
Wait a minute, what's the difference?
wait, is there? Yeah.
Hold on. 333,000.
You guys want the Merriam-Webster definition of force account?
No, these are.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah,
The
one
way
is
you
for the
said-
one is for Midtown,
Okay.
one is for
I'm
Rondell.
good.
Okay. Force account definition?
It's part of the expense account of a public body as a municipality resulting from the employment of a labor force, usually distinguished from the part resulting from contracting similar services with commercial agencies.
So public workforce account.
Public works, labor force.
Right.
So 151 deals with the Midtown Brownfield Opportunity Area, and number 152 deals with the Rondell waterfront. But both are for $300,000 match requirement of 10%, for $33,333. It's two separate projects, but identical grants and to the same, it's both all to the Department of State.
Is it the same grant that we're applying for two things? Okay.
Yeah, it's two different projects, the same grant source. So we may get one or the other, or both, or none.
Keep applying and crowd everybody else out.
Okay, and number 153 is request the mayor to execute documents for the amount of $400,000 for the final phases of the integration, the bus, county and city bus integration programs. match requirement of 10%, $44,444. So the total project cost is $444,444.
So this is a little confusing, because basically the match, we're already paying way above what they're saying is the match. And this would reduce our total costs. That's what actually happens for the bus integration. Okay?
And 154. Is, this is a zero match for facade of window repairs and entry doors and floor-length window at the Art Society. Oh, yeah, this is for the renovations, where,
Down on Broadway.
yeah, they're asking our support for a project that the Art Society of Kingston has for about $400,000 for a whole bunch of windows and putting an elevator in, an ADA compliant walkway. They're just asking our support for this. No impact to the city.
It's not a city project.
Very impressive project they're doing down there. But they just want the support from the city to do this.
Is that required? If we said no, would they still do it?
Probably.
Then why do they need our work?
Well, it
Probably just
their
helps,
grant.
It is
They're
helps
going
with
for
the
a grant.
branding.
Oh, it is required?
Yeah, they have to have the supporting
Support.
resolution from the municipality
It's
to
good
be
to
able
get the
to
support
apply.
of the
So if you
city.
said no, then they would not be able to submit their application.
Okay.
But it doesn't commit us to anything, and never.
Why would Ask have that and not TransArt? I'm just curious. Is it just two different grants require different things?
Yeah, it's, I think they're submitting to New York State Parks and they require the supporting resolution. And TransArt is submitting to NISCA, which is New York State
Council.
Arts Council of Arts,
Council.
and they don't require resolutions.
Oh.
So with TransArt, I was gonna ask that question too. With TransArt, we can just submit just a letter from Common Council saying we're supporting them? Because they were here asking for our support in a prior well, it was a meeting that Finance had.
Yeah,
And
they were here to just share about that they're applying.
They also asked for Common Council support.
Well, they didn't, they didn't officially request a resolution. So I don't, if the Common Council gives, I mean, you could draft a resolution just as like a letter of support, but they don't, it's not required for the grant. Alternatively, aldermen could write your own letters of
Yeah.
support for the project.
All right, one whole public safety thing.
I think our whole agenda was tabled, except for this. Removing a couple handicap signs on Clinton Avenue.
Everybody okay with that?
Kristen, you did good, that's like $11 million.
We'll see.
There you go.
All right, resolution to go home.
Before we get out of here, I'll just offer a little information on the force account. Force accounts are used when the two parties can't agree on the cost of extra work that's done that's beyond the contract. So there's work that's done that wasn't outlined in the contract, that's work that needs to be paid for. The contractor needs to be paid. So what happens is they break down every aspect of the work that still has to be done, and every aspect of the job is monitored. So we're talking about hourly rates for the individuals, we're talking about cost of materials, as well as, basically all the costs. So all the costs that are associated with the additional work that wasn't contracted for is broken down, and the contractor is only paid for the work that he does at that point.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? The stage, the mobile stage, Kingston Radio is giving us $25,000. What are they getting in exchange for the $25,000?
Ruth Ann has been following that a little bit more. She's not here tonight to answer that question, but my understanding is that we'll have a memorandum of agreement with them that will allow them to utilize the stage a certain number of times per month without cost to them. And I think that some of you were at the finance meeting, you might remember, Ruhan said that agreement is for five years to start, and then we'd be renegotiating that, or not.
We'll be advertising too, right? We're gonna have a sign up there or something, I
So,
What do we?
would think. Sign for them, probably in the
Well-
vicinity of the stage anyway, I would think. They would want something like that.
yeah, maybe that might be part of the memorandum.
What are we going to be renting the stage for to a regular?
I don't think that those costs have been determined yet.
Any idea? Any estimate?
I don't know, because I haven't been intimately involved on that project.
But there's a lot of city-run functions down there that we don't have a stage. The stage that we were using was really decrepit, then we were renting a stage, so this was.
Do you know what we paid to rent the stage?
I don't know what we were paying.
I'm just interested in what it would cost. You know, how much it would cost if they want to use this thing a couple times a month, maybe 3 times or 4 times a month. If it was $500 a pop, that $25,000 would go pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would need to be part of the negotiation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Ready? Just noting that the Children's Day Parade is July